Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. There's piles of people loading on, so I'll just give 1 more minute, and then we'll get started with today's town hall. Hopefully people can see a front screen, so if someone can just type in and they can see it, that'd be greatly appreciated. Cool, thank you. All right, we've got some good numbers. We've got a lot to get through today for everyone, so we'll get started. So first off, I just want to welcome everyone to our first town hall for 2021. I know everyone's still getting used to what is becoming the new norm, and but you know, it's great to get a chance to talk to everyone for the first time this year. I'm really excited about what's happening in the JDE space, plus all the things that connect to it, whether it's through what we're doing from an IP perspective or what our partners are doing. So there's some really great stuff, and we'll run a couple of these this year, and I'll talk at the end of the day, at the end of this session, about you know, what's upcoming and what events we've got on. So just quickly, joining me today, and I'm really excited. I always enjoy talking with the guys. So I've got both Shannon and Ben will be running some sessions for today with me. Normally, you know, we get the chance to talk in front, but this is really the norm. You know, it was something special and something different with last year's symposium, but you know, between the three of us, we've got some fantastic information that we want to share with everyone. And on that, about the agenda, so what you can see is a little bit I'm doing now, the introduction and welcome. I'll talk a little bit about what's happening in the JDE space and what's new, particularly with the release of 9.2.5 that came out in November, December last year. Shannon then will start talking to you about you know, extending your functionality and focusing on PO approvals. Ben will jump into a topic which I think is valuable for everyone wherever you use JDE Woods around the world, which is transitioning yourself from being more reactive to proactive. I'll talk about some amazing work that 2 of our partners are doing, which is reports now for Q software, or RN for QS, and run through that a little bit. Then we'll open it up for any questions. And on questions, please type in anything as you go along, and we'll try and answer that if we can, and if we don't, we've got about 10 minutes allocated at the end, and if we don't get through everything then, we'll respond to people as we go with that. And then I'll close out and just talk, I spoke before, talk about what's happening for the rest of this year, what are our plans, and some of the events that are going on. Just with this also, we are recording, so after the event, for those that potentially weren't able to make this, because I know there's people registered from different time zones all around the world, which greatly appreciate, and fantastic to have everyone on board. We will send a recording, and there'll be some additional collateral that'll come out with the recording as well. Okay, so as always, you know, we've been doing these now really since 2018. I ran the first one out of Auckland back in 2018. And our goal and what we're trying to do and how we're working with our partners and JDE Edwards is we're really here to about providing education, so giving you knowledge about what's going on. introducing you to what's new and what's innovative and what our team and what customers are doing from all around the world, providing you with support. So, ensuring what's going on, and then just partnering. So whether it's through our partners or just providing a partnership with yourselves as JDE Edwards customers. So really you can see that, it's all about this collaboration and, some of the biggest things and some of the key things that we get is really, and I know people love it, and particularly the symposium where we get a couple of customers to talk about what's happening and what they're doing. And we'll look to do that again this year and potentially bring one or two in with our town halls later in this year. But, we take feedback from you guys, we learn stuff from you, we learn from our partners, they learn from us, and all the time we're, engaging and working directly with JDE Edwards out of America. So with that, I just want to give a little welcome video from Paul Cooper.
Hello, I want to welcome everyone to this town hall hosted by Fusion5. My name is Paul Cooper and I lead the JDE Edwards product group. I'm responsible for everything it takes to design, develop, document, and deliver JDE Edwards, including product management, product development, and content engineering. Well, 2020 is finally behind us, and I hope that all of you and your families remain healthy and safe in 2021. We've now been working from home for over a year. While I have grown accustomed to this environment and deny its benefits, I cannot wait until we can see one another again in person. And I hope that 2021 will give us that opportunity. Looking at 2021 from a product point of view, me and my team remain dedicated to the continuous delivery of customer-driven product and finding more and more ways to eliminate roadblocks to innovation and enabling customers to realize the maximum return on Oracle's investment in JDE Edwards and cloud. In speaking to customers from around the globe in the past several months, I am continually impressed with their stories and how they are leveraging JDE Edwards and our digital platform to survive and thrive. Whether they want to consolidate a business process through automation, automate their user experience using an alternative UI, or infuse intelligence into JDE Edwards to monitor, diagnose, and rectify problems in order to improve the performance of the business and gain a competitive advantage, customers continue to find more and more ways to expose the power of JDE Edwards ERP and its ability to modernize their business. I know Fusion5 and the partner community recognize this, and they share our customers' enthusiasm. Because they keep on asking my team for more and more ways we can improve their ability to deliver value to their customers. Zero downtime deployment on the glass logic extensions, direct upgrade to 64-bit reflect a few of these requests, which is why I'm so excited for what we might accomplish this year. If you look back over the last 5 years and the cumulative value of what we have delivered on 9.2, you can't help but get excited and be impatient. Sometimes we get caught limiting our view to the latest and greatest. What came out before, what came out that, and we fail to realize what it represents cumulatively. Many times we were just delivering building blocks, and that's the beauty of an agile model. You can continuously deliver value to your community while shipping individual pieces and parts of an overall solution. In 2021, we may see the culmination of several parts of the grand vision we laid out 5 years ago. So with that, I want to say welcome. I hope you enjoy this town hall day. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. So as we go through the sessions today, just one thing I really want people to think about is that no matter what release of JDE Edwards you're on, you could be even still on World in theory, whether you're on XE, 8.12, 9, 9.1, some version of 9.2. Everything we're talking about can be utilized at certain levels. So, and also what technology you're on, and there's always a continuous improvement journey that you can take. It's about finding the right journey. And that's what our job is, and that's what we're trying to do with all our customers and what we're trying to do with JDE Edwards. And we're just here to help you to find the right path and how you start this journey or how you continue on your journey. So with that in mind, I just want to talk about, what's happening in the JDE space, in particular, some of the key things that Paul spoke about and what's happening with 9.2.5 that was released late last year. So we're living in this different world. The world is continually changing to us. Normally by this time, last year, a couple of trips to America to do some events, go around and see customers, and, just starting to travel now. And it's all particular about, what borders are open. We had an amazing experience where we got 8 of our team from 4 different states, and we got to visit a customer last week. So, the world is trying to stabilize a little bit. But, with that in mind, JDE Woods has a couple of key focus points, and, to elaborate on those, there's really about, simplifying and automating. This is where we talk about what you can do with the system going forward to make things easier. So changes with package deployment, the transition to 64-bit, web clients, so development being able to be done on web client, promotions done there. So there's various things that are getting done from that perspective. One that we continually talk about and is continually changing and getting enhanced, and there's a new release of it with 9.2.5 is the orchestrator. So it's that connection now, and it's a big area that where JDE Woods is changing with their mobility focus and using orchestrator to do mobility. But the ability to connect with what you can do and getting data from a pushing and pull perspective, but also from a validation. There's so many amazing opportunities that people can take on there, and I know a lot of customers are doing that at the moment. Cloud, it's something that's been there. First customer I know of we transitioned was 8 years ago, but it is something that everyone has the opportunity to think about. All the main cloud options available to you, whether it's Oracle, AWS, Azure, even Google. They're all set up here in Australia, so data sovereignty and performance and a lot of those things are taken off the table. You then got what you can do from a user experience. So the example here, I've got notifications. So, instead of, having someone to go looking for information, you're actually becoming, and this is, what Ben will talk about a bit later, about being more proactive. And so instead of going looking, you can get information, get notifications of what's going on, as simple as something as, these are the approvals that I need to do. And then there's mobility. So, Shannon will talk about extending functionality, and mobility is one of the ways that you can do that. And there's a real change in how, people have that available to what's going on. So talking about the new releases and what you can do. So great website out there, and just wanted to showcase it, and I'll show it a couple of times, just showing what's going on. Sorry. There we go. So hopefully people can see just all the different options that are available for you for improving, really taking you from that focus of improving, at the end of the day, just improving the user experience. So whether that's from reducing a technical debt, that transition to the JDE Woods terminology of low code, no code, embracing some continuous improvement. Or you can see there's so many things that are available to you, even from perspective of what you can do yourself. So taking out that development requirement and no longer, this is something where you can empower your users. So whether it's from, notifications, search groups, personalization, form extension, landing pages, even just something, the simple thing is save queries. There's so many different options that are available to you at the moment. So in terms of the application release for 9.2.5, which came out in December, so this is, if you look at what's happening over the last couple of years since 9.2 came out, there are updates coming out every month, but normally they'll be bundled together in an ASU. In more and often, it's November, December. So tools will come out and an apps. Most often it's tools is first, so normally November, and then the app in December. But roughly that timeline, but it's not exactly always that timeline. But with 9.2.5 from an application perspective that came out in December, there's 82 changes in total, and these are all the modules that are impacted by that. For those, when you get the recording, there's a QR code here. If you scan the QR code, you can go straight to the web page. And when you do scan that, it'll take you to this web page here. which will go through all those options. And hopefully, no, there we go. So you can see here all the different enhancements. So there is a lot there, and it's just showcasing that JD Edwards is continually working and updating and what you can do with JD Edwards. So on the flip side, the tools, there's a lot more becoming engaged with tools. There's a lot more that you get delivered with your tools upgrades. So with 9.2.5 from a tools perspective, there's 18 changes. And they go across the 5 areas that are really focused from a technology perspective. So whether that's the digital transformation, enhancing the user experience, system automation, security, or just the open platform. Same thing with this. There's a QR code. And going into that, and the one main thing that I did want to talk about is, this scrolls down for me, is here. So it's really about the the transition to 64-bit. So with this release, so those people that have transitioned or are in the process of transitioning to 9.2.5, once that's gone in, you have to pretty much transition to 64-bit. So that's the change that JD Edwards is making, that they will no longer be releasing 32-bit versions. So when you're thinking about an upgrade, or if you're planning an upgrade, really align that with a technology refresh, so that you can transition to your latest operating systems, database levels, WebLogic patches, but at the same time moving it to a 64-bit foundation. Something to think about is then your third-party applications, whether they can do that or not. All the partners that JD Edwards, that Fusion5 support, they're now 64-bit compliant. So whether you're talking about Q Software, Reports Now, RFGen, Accra, things like that, they're all available 64-bit versions where needed. Okay, so the last thing I just want to run through is, some people may be aware, some people may not be, but I know that this is a very valuable tool and something that our teams use when we're talking to our customers. And everyone has access to this that has their Oracle support ID. You can access this through Learn JDE. It's really, you can do it if you really want to know what's the changes between the releases. So you can see here, there's some quick downloads. You could be on 9.0 and you want to know what's the difference between 9.0 and the latest 9.2. So in this case, it's the 9.2.5 ASU that came out in December. So you can go in here, you can choose what's going on, you can drop down and choose between application or tools. So once you've made your selection and chosen your modules that you want to focus on, you'll get a list. And in this case, I put in, so you can see we're on 9.2 as of February 2016 to the latest was the system foundation, it was financials, procurement, and you can see there's over 100 changes that are going in there. And for each of those, you can click on it, get more details, and you can download information about that. So there's some amazing information there that gives you a lot of clarity about how much change you're going to go to. Okay, so that's it from me to start with. What I'll do now is I'll just transition over to Shannon. There may be a slight switch. We just got to switch between cameras and the actual presenters. But Shannon will jump in now about talking about extending your JDE functionality.
Thanks, Andrew. Hopefully you'll be able to see my screen as well. So this is just the introductory screen.
Yep,
and fantastic. Okay, well, we're away. Yeah, so what I wanted to cover off is a question that I'm asked all the time by my clients at the moment, and that's how do we keep JD Edwards central and relevant to our organization? It is the source of truth for so many business transactions, critical business transactions. It provides a fantastic secure environment. There's a very mature security model around everything within JD Edwards, and people want to build out solutions to potentially make it easier to use some of that functionality and to use some of JD Edwards' strengths. And we believe at Fusion5 that the ability to keep JD Edwards core and central and to be able to extend that functionality into your organizations easily is really important. I've chosen to do all my demonstrations, or I'm actually not demonstrating, but my scenarios are based around purchase order approval. Now, the reason I've chosen purchase order approval is that it's relevant for most organizations. And let's be honest, relevant to senior people who have to authorize purchase orders. But I looked at some data, and some of our customers are doing purchase order approvals 12,000 times a month. And so 320 of their JD Edwards users are logging in to approve 12,000 purchase orders every month. And so I have these statistics, and some individuals are approving over 1,000 purchase orders. Now, I know for a fact that the accumulated time for those operations within JD Edwards is actually taking 170 hours. So that purchase order approval screen is open cumulatively for 170 hours in that organization. So that means, on average, that 51 seconds of engagement time is being consumed every time the purchase order approval application is raised. And I look at that and I think maybe there can be some improvements in that engagement. So we've looked at all the data, we've looked at all the signals around the organization, we've determined how often this application is used. And now I want to show you some options for potentially reducing that 51-second engagement time per transaction and maybe getting some time back in the organization for a transaction as simple as purchase order approvals. So my presentation is just to show you some of the alternative means by which you could maybe simplify those actions within JD Edwards. So as I was saying before, JD Edwards is core to many transactions within the business. These could be B2B transactions, they could be directly entered, they could be IoT, etc. But JD Edwards can be core in helping you make decisions around the business. And what has been a massive improvement for our ability to answer any of those queries is orchestration, which we've placed around JD Edwards there. And orchestration is a mechanism by which we can reuse all of that great security, all of that great business logic, and all of that high availability that we build into our core ERP. But orchestration allows us to easily reuse that without incurring all of that technical debt. So any of the logic in our purchase order approvals application, any of the approval routes that we've put into JD Edwards, we don't have to rekey any of that logic. Orchestration can expose that very simply, and then we can reuse that in other applications. So if we look at our JD Edwards classic paradigm of alert, analyze, act, and we apply that to purchase order approval, out of the box, we get an email to say we have purchase orders that we need to approve. And then that's in our alert phase. In our analyze phase, we open up our emails, we check that it's not spam. We go into JD Edwards potentially. We might look at the attachments, we'll look at the amounts, we'll look at the supplier and ensure that that's a valid transaction. And that's our analysis phase of alert, analyze, act. And then eventually we'll either approve or reject the purchase order. And we fit it in nicely, once again, to our alert, analyze, act in JD Edwards. And that's exactly what we want to do. And remember, my statistics told me before that that's taking, on average, 51 seconds per transaction. And we want to try and reduce that time. Now, to reduce that time, I believe we've got many ways that we can do that, which don't incur technical debt. And I want to go through those carefully. And when I say technical debt, we could write JD Edwards code, we could create new simplified applications, we could do package builds, deploys, put that through our software development life cycle. And that could be some costly changes that we eventually get into the production environment. But I want to talk about other ways of cracking this nut. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go through our scenario, which is purchase order approvals, and show you how I've been able to simplify those things quite simply using UDOs, and then I'm going to go through a low-code, no-code solution. I'm going to look at the standard Oracle provided mobile application for purchase order approvals. I'm going to look at the Fusion5 mobile application for purchase order approvals. I'm going to talk to you about solving this problem by using technology such as a web form. We'll talk a little bit about voice, and then I'm going to show you a new partner product, JDE Accelerator, all of which can approve purchase orders, list purchase orders outside of JD Edwards. Now, it's important that we talk about orchestration. I wrote 3 orchestrations that have been reused in every single one of these solutions. So I have a list, I've written an orchestration, which is basically list the purchase orders that I need to approve, and that just goes into JD Edwards, basically hits find on the purchase order approval app and sends that back to whoever's calling it. I have a reject purchase order orchestration, and I have an approved purchase order orchestration. So what you're going to see now is built upon 3 simple orchestrations that honestly took me about 2 hours to write and test completely. And remember that the orchestrations take into consideration all of the, I know I've said it a few times, but it considers all of the JD Edwards security, business unit security, company security, and all the approval routes that you put into JD Edwards. All of those are natively inherited into the orchestrations. You can also secure your orchestrations, and that's role-based, individual-based security, where the people can execute certain orchestrations that you decide to publish. So, my first example of simplifying the purchase order approval process is to cut back the standard JD Edwards screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use user-defined objects, and firstly I'm going to use the grid format manager, and I've created a table view with information that I think is relevant for my purchase order approvals. And so what I decided is I created a quick grid format table view. I want to see the order number, the amount's really important to me, when it was requested, and what is the supplier name. That's the information that I want to see in my table to quickly, and instead of being confused by all the standard columns on the screen, I want to see the super relevant information for me. Now, when I create that grid format, I use the grid format manager, and I could choose to publish that to all of my users or to particular roles, and I can also ensure that that is the default grid format if I wanted to. So that's the first phase, and it's really easy for me to decide on what information is shown on that particular grid. The next thing I decided to do is use form personalization to cut back all of the controls that are irrelevant for me. So I got rid of all of the header controls on this particular form. The nice thing about the form personalization as well is I can make the grid bigger, I can make the grid smaller, I can change the screen and exactly where everything sits. So it's super relevant for the job that I'm doing, which is purchase order approvals. The next step I decided to do is to, once again, reformat how big the grid was, and then whether I see all the different row selections. So you can also modify the exit bars on your forms as part of the personalization process. The final thing I decided to do is we're talking about the orchestrations that I created. I placed buttons, so and this is all on the glass. This does not need developers. This does not need package builds and deploys. This does not need a software development lifecycle. I've done everything through the browser to create this complete solution. And what I was able to do is put 2 buttons on the bottom of the form, on the bottom of the grid, one saying approve, one saying reject, and those buttons call those orchestrations that I mentioned earlier. I've only got 3 orchestrations that support this entire solution, but I've been able to put buttons on the standard JD Edwards forms which call orchestrations and make this look a whole lot nicer and easier to use. Remember that those orchestrations could be external, but in my example, they're basically calling JD Edwards functions. And so what you've got here is what my application finally looks like. So instead of a complicated grid structure, instead of all those header controls, I can now have a shortcut, and just with UDOs, what I've done on the glass, I can see the purchase orders that I need to approve really simply in that grid. I can select one of those grid items and I can reject or approve that purchase order. And that's exactly what the screen looks like. And that's pretty mobile friendly as well. If I needed to have a shortcut, if I needed something easy for my end users to use, this is a completely appropriate solution. So something that people often forget with JD Edwards, if you go down and if you pull down the tools menu on any screen, you can go to collaborate and then you can choose parameterize URL. And we are in the day of QR codes, so I've also got my QR code here. But you're able to have a parameterized URL of of that application that I created there. And with all those default UDOs, you can hit that with your phone and that would open up this application as soon as you authenticate it. So the authentication process can be a little bit clumsy on mobile devices, and entering your password can be a little bit clumsy if you're not using password managers, but this is a pretty cool way of exposing some simple functionality in JD Edwards. So what I've done for each of these solutions, and what you'll find is I've kind of rated them. This is a Shannon rating in terms of the overall cost of the solution. You see 1 star. It didn't cost a lot to put this together because I'm using standard JD Edwards, I'm using standard UDOs, etc. If I had half a star, I'd probably give it half a star, but it's just 1. In terms of implementation time, all of that, you know, even if we considered the writing of the orchestrations, that'd be unfair because I've written those orchestrations for all of these examples. It really was pretty quick to put together. It is future-proof. I've given it 4 stars for future-proof. This is going to survive an upgrade. This is going to continue to work for JD Edwards, be a good solution. Skill set availability, I've given it 3 stars. There might be a little bit of training that you need to do on advanced UDOs and then get those out to public or particular roles that you want to purchase order approvals. And in terms of usability, I've only given it 2 stars because there is that clumsiness of logging into JD Edwards, and there's a few things that you might want to tidy up there, but 2 stars of usability for this particular solution for purchase order approvals. I want to quickly touch on low code, no code. There are many low code, no code solutions out there. I'm going to talk quite specifically about Power Apps. I've chosen that because Microsoft own the desktop, and I think it's a logical solution for you to release functionality to what is it, the desktop or to the mobile platforms. A really big advantage, and I'm talking, you know, this is some advice from me. We've written a lot of mobile applications, and if you were to take that on internally, you must consider the deployment of those applications to your mobile devices. Really important, and when you use a product like Power Apps, or if you look any of the standard low code, no code platforms, they make that easier than native applications. And native applications start to get difficult to deploy, but when you use these solutions, it's very easy. So again, we put together a Power App. It's made up of 4 forms. It's very simple. We've got a login form. We use Microsoft Flow to do all the authentications. And at the end of the day, JDE, or the JD Edwards product, supports Open API 3.0. So it will document all of the orchestrations nicely. What you can do in Power Apps or in any platform really is you can ask it to find or expose all those orchestrations, and then you've got a really easy way of calling the orchestrations that you've exposed. You can find the parameters easily. You can have all that documentation in one place. But Power Apps is really simple to use. We're starting to get a lot of our development team across this solution because it's a nice, easy way that's close to the desktop, that's fully mobile as well, that you can extend that JD Edwards functionality. And again, a couple of the screens, easy to put together. We had our developers putting applications like this together. Let's say it took about 5 days the first time because there's a bit of learning. You've got to get your authentication right. Another piece of advice from me is be very careful about lingering open connections to JD Edwards. Be very careful about choosing a low code, no code solution because you want your environment to be secure. So make sure there's an overlay of security over whatever you do in this space. In terms of the architecture, you do not have to be in the cloud to use Power Apps. Your JD Edwards could be totally safe on premise, and then you could use the Azure Application Gateway, for example, and there are other solutions that would open up the particular orchestrations or the particular functionality that you need from Orchestration Studio or your AIS instance out to Power Apps. So Power Apps is a web-based solution. It needs a conduit back into your organization if you're not into the cloud, and you can do something like the Azure App Gateway to expose that functionality for you, okay? The other way is if you are already in the cloud, then absolutely it's easier. You may not need the Azure App Gateway if you're already cloud-based, or if you're cloud agnostic, if you're using OCI or if you're using AWS for JD Edwards, then you still have some web-based construct to secure the connection from what is your low-code, no-code solution. Again, the cost is a little bit higher for this particular solution. Real costs are USD $10 per user per app per month. So that's what the Power Apps licensing, that's what you're going to pay Microsoft, $10 per user per app per month. There are some big specials on at the moment, but that's RRP. And then it's $40 per user for unlimited apps per month. So $40 for unlimited apps per user per month. So if you start to roll out a whole heap of solutions, maybe that's going to be more economical for you. But this is the cost of the Azure hosting. In terms of JD Edwards, you just need to be sure that your users are licensed for that end user module. And like I said before, I think it'd be about 5 days to develop your first application, and then that would go down considerably, but please ensure that your security architecture is appropriate in a low-code, no-code environment. It's really important. I want to talk about the standard Oracle JD Edwards application for purchase order approvals. I guess it makes this story a little bit more relevant because what happened was that this has been taken off the Apple App Store. So a number of clients were using the standard mobile applications from JD Edwards. They've been taken from the App Store. They're no longer supported, and you can no longer run those on an Apple device. But they used to work on both Android and Apple. I have this still as a valid option because I wanted to talk about the alternative, and the alternative is using the Oracle Cloud Platform VBCS, and there are recipes or patterns which are well documented on the Oracle support websites, but the new mode for Oracle going forwards is using VBCS. It's not publishing applications on app stores anymore. Now you still may be able to use the Android version, and you can see here very similar functionality. You see the purchase orders, the different types of purchase orders and how many that need approvals for this particular user. You drill down into those, and then you can scroll through the individual transactions and approve or reject those transactions. In terms of the solution scorecard for the standard mobile application, I've got the cost is very low. I have A star there because you do have to consider your mobile deployment management and your security. So there's a little bit that you have to consider. There's some processing options that you have to configure. In terms of implementation time, once again, quite low for this. But I've given it 1 star for future-proof because it's been taken off the App Store. So it's not future-proof, and it's not something that I'd recommend going forward because the Oracle have indicated a different path for those for sustainability of those applications or that functionality. In terms of the skill sets, again, you don't get source code, so it scores pretty low on the skill set. And usability, probably could have given it 2.5 stars. It's a decent app. It's a bit clumsy. It doesn't remember your password, but it's a decent app for exposing this functionality. The next thing I wanted to talk about is using like a Fusion5 mobile application. So we also have a mobile app that's native, that's been written for iOS and written for Android. And our application does basically the same things. It's a little bit prettier than what we put together. You can view all of the attachments on this application. You can see the approvals history, so you can see the hierarchy of approvals and who's next to approve or reject a purchase order. And this is just a nice, easy way of approving your mobile work orders. This is available, it's currently, this is $10 per user per month. That's the RRP for this particular application. So you see it competes well with what is the Power Apps solution that you'll pay basically just for your Power Apps licensing. In terms of the solution scorecard for this has an additional staff at the cost. It's $10 per user per month, RRP for that. But talk to your Fusion5 salespeople for a deal. The implementation time, again, we've given that a couple of stars because you do have to get your security models right. You are going to be talking to the AIS server, and that's generally going to be made public, or you're going to establish a VPN on your MDM. You can see from all, we've done this many times, so we understand all of the issues that you may have extending the JD Edwards platform for mobility, but we want to make sure that you've done it right. Security is you know, a first-class citizen in all of our solutions, and it's really important in whatever we do. We have, in terms of future-proof, it is totally future-proof because we maintain the code and we ensure the next operating systems are supported by that code. Skill set availability doesn't matter because everyone can click a button and approve purchase order, and then it's highly usable. I've got a few more to go, so I've got to hurry through these. We've got a web form. What I'm encouraging everyone here to think about is that with the power of orchestration, you could write some pretty simple JavaScript. You could host that in the cloud, you could host it locally, and it could natively call JD Edwards functionality very simply. So you could whip together a JavaScript app which listed someone's purchase orders that they need to approve. If they selected a grid on that screen, you could call the next orchestration to do a rejection or approval. Now you could put this all together. You wouldn't pay licensing for the solution because you could write native JavaScript or whatever you want to put this solution in, and that could be a pretty active application which would recognize screen resolution and render itself appropriately. All those things are available to you because of the power of orchestration and the ability to call that, reuse that functionality from JD Edwards in a super light way, which is, you know, the Oracle hybrid REST. That sort of solution, I'm giving it, costs are similar because you're going to have some skill sets, potentially some hosting for a web-based solution. The implementation time is a little bit more. You are writing some code, although it's a generic JavaScript-based code. It's a pretty future-proof solution because you're going to develop it yourself and you can maintain those libraries and that code. The skill set availability is quite good as well because you'll be choosing the languages that you put this HTML, you know, based portal together, web-based portal together, and you can maintain that and you can make it as usable as you wish. So orchestration can get to attachments. Again, it adheres to the security models, but you can make all that happen on your homegrown solution. And of course, we've done this for many customers as well. So we have pretty much a pre-built pattern by which we can expose JD Edwards functionality to a web form, and so we could help you out there if you needed it. This is a demo that was going around a long time ago. I'm talking about voice to JD Edwards. I'd say it's been around for probably 5 years, although it's still pretty cool in my books, where we can say, hey, technology, how many, I say, hey, technology, so my phone doesn't wake up. But, you know, we say, hey, how many purchase orders do I have open at the moment? And it goes, and basically this cloud-based voice platform calls your orchestration, calls the orchestration that I spoke about earlier, because I only wrote 3, and it's the list my open purchase orders. And then it can say, you have 10 purchase orders waiting for approval. And you say, hey, tell me about the first one. And you go through a voice-driven dialogue of approving that. The really nice thing about that sort of technology is you can actually plug that into a chat bot as well. And so you could chat through that solution if you don't want to go talking out loud, and you could approve all your purchase orders through chat. And that's becoming pretty popular as well, but using the same code, using my 3 core orchestrations. Again, the cost is a little bit higher. There's a little bit of custom dev. The implementation time and future-proof, I've given 4 stars as well. It's, you know, getting that right, deploying it. The security by voice is a bit of a challenge. There's a few things that we've had to do previously to authorize the access to your JD Edwards account with your mobile phone, et cetera, et cetera. The skill set availability is pretty good because you're going to use generic cloud constructs, and the usability, you know, in certain circumstances is 5 stars, but we've given it 3. Now, the final thing I wanted to talk about is the JDE Accelerator product. And the JDE Accelerator product is an Excel plugin that that's available through Fusion5. Fusion5 is in the Asia Pac region, and we can resell this. Now, this allows you to easily open any orchestrations that you've already written or already recorded in JD Edwards, and you get a really easy way of running that in Excel. So it comes up as a toolbar. You can import all of your orchestrations, and then as you see here, you can quickly see the orchestration that I've created, which is list my purchase orders. And that first screen, I've just passed in all users, all order types, and it's gone ahead and listed all of the purchase orders that's available for me to approve. And so then what I can do is I can create another tab in my spreadsheet, and I can look through all those details because I can choose the columns that I want to see or not. I'm happy with most of those purchase orders, so I can cut and paste that list of purchase orders. I can paste that into my approved tab, and I can hit go once, and it will go and individually approve all of those purchase orders. So the nice thing about this is I'm in a familiar interface. I'm in Excel. I love Excel. Who doesn't love Excel? But I can quickly automate a lot of processes. Now you can see what I've done with purchase orders. You can imagine what you could do with repetitive tasks in JD Edwards with a powerful solution like this. So if you had to enter a lot of data, if you had to modify a lot of data, all you need to do is write the orchestration or have that written for you, which will facilitate that process. Then, with the power of Excel, you can go and execute those business changes in JD Edwards in this completely automated fashion. Get the results of the function calls, understand exactly what's going on. It's a very powerful tool. This costs between $250 and $600 per user per year. So it's a pretty cheap plugin for JD Edwards, and especially for those people that do a lot with Excel, a lot of your accounting staff to be able to facilitate those processes. It's a really cool product. I probably should have given it 3 stars for cost there. In terms of implementation time, it is really quick to install. It's a double-click installation. You tell it where your AIS server is, and away you go. It is a future-proof solution. It has a product roadmap. It's getting better and better all the time. So, I highly recommend downloading a trial of that as well. In terms of skill set availability, let's be honest, we're talking Excel, probably 5 stars. We've got a lot of Excel guns out there, and it can create a very usable solution. Look, finally, how else? This could have been done a number of different ways that I probably haven't covered. You could do full custom apps. You could use BSSVs. You could call BSFNs. You could use flat files if you want to. Please don't, but you could. So there's many different ways that we could have solved this solution. I went through what I think are the best 5 or 6 ways of doing that, just because of the reusability of the logic and because of the ability for us to secure that solution at the end of the day. So, hey, look, thanks for listening. I hope it's got you all thinking about how you might be able to extend the functionality within JD Edwards, especially with some real numbers there for those solutions. So now I'm going to pass on to Ben O'Malley, who's going to talk you through reactive to proactive.
Excellent, thank you, Shannon. Alrighty, let me get my screen shared here. Bear with me. Okay, hopefully you can see my screen.
Yeah, all good, Ben.
Awesome. All right, cool. So look, thank you for joining, everyone. This is actually something that is really got me excited for Fusion5 and also just to engage with our clients. What we've found over the years is that a lot of our clients and also people that are not our clients that are coming to us really have a reactive mindset when it comes to JD Edwards. And the thing is that I want to try and encourage people to get out of that and get more into a proactive mindset. And you'll see where I'm going with this in a moment. So what is reactive to proactive, and what am I presenting here? So essentially, it can be not only technology, but it's also business focused. So the first one in my mind is not waiting for our competition to make the first move. Let's make the first move and then let them catch up. But there's going to be, a lot of ways in which we can do that. And one of the first ways is learning from past mistakes. Now, if I had $1 for every time I had a client reach out, or even when I was a client back in the day, of there's something that you've done which is quite manual, and you've made that mistake in the past, you go, thank goodness that's done. I don't have to worry about that for another year. I'll tell you what, that year comes around very, very quickly. So learning from our past mistakes and putting something in place for the future, and fine tuning our approach in adapting to those mistakes. The other thing that I like to point out here is we need to find the value where others see normality. So if you're saying that that is just our normal process for month end, or that is just our normal process for year end, or that is just our normal process of processing invoicing, let's break that mindset. Let's think outside the box. And what you've seen by what Shannon's just shown you there's some pretty innovative ideas that I think is probably going to spur some forward thinking from the people on this town hall. And I'm hoping that can bring up a few ideas, and we'd love to talk to you about it. So using innovation, not repeating tasks that we've done for the last few years. And this in turn gets us to the point of becoming transformational in your thinking all the time. So why is it for me? Now, I'm going to put some points up here where I think virtually everyone's going to be able to relate to this. So my auditors are coming next week. How do I do this? My database version is out of support as of 3 months ago. How do I move on? Our competitors have an automated supply portal. How do I get one? What happens every month? We just have to work weekends to get it done. And my cyber team tell me that Java and WebLogic are not on the latest patch set. So as you can see here is, why is moving from reactive to proactive for me? This is exactly the reason. Okay, so if some of these relate to you, let's have a chat about that, and we'll try and get you to a point where we can move forward. Now, one thing I want to start by laying the foundation on is the continuous enhancements and updates released by JD Edwards. As Andrew has pointed out here, there are a lot, and I just want to put in front here technical as well as applications. So on the technical side, Shannon's spoken about user-defined objects. Other ones are one-click provisioning. We now have virtual batch queues and virtual hosts, and that allows us to have elasticity within our JD Edwards installation. Orchestrator, the availability of API 3.0. We've now got web package builds, and for those of you who know, how much time it used to take for package builds and deploys, let me tell you, that is a game changer. 64-bit processing, there's a few reasons for that: security, processing, performance, etc. Long username passwords are there, simple dev client, and the applications. Look, I'm not going to get right into the applications, but that is just some of the applications that have been enhanced, and there's new features and functionalities which may now have features in there which can retire some of your customizations and modifications that you've got in your system. If you want more information, that URL is there, and that'll give you a lot of information on those announcements. Fusion5 have developed this concept of the continuous improvement program for 9.2. Now, I'm going to go through and I'm going to explain every single piece of this, and I'm going to show you how this is going to benefit you and your business and get you that competitive edge for the investment that you've already made in JD Edwards. Now, what you'll see here is that we've got 5 main areas to this program, and there's going to be feedback loops and inputs to this as well. So we're going to start off by talking about the tech and security updates. We're going to talk about how to get the ASU updates into your system and the benefits of that. We're going to talk about the Fusion5's maturity model review, the strategic planning, and then getting into actually applying those strategic plans and improvements into your system. And we're going to show you how that's a cyclical approach, and it will just continue on into the future. Now, we do have, as I said, some feedback loops, some inputs for analytical information, system feedback, customer inputs, and business input. This is not viable unless we have that input. Now, look, if you're not on 9.2, you can still take advantage of this. We do have a plan in place where you can come from 9.1. Hey, you know, if you're on 8.12, talk to us. We'll get you to this. Not a problem at all. But this applies to everyone. Okay, the first one is in the continuous improvement program, the tools and technology updates. Now, generally when I talk to clients about tools releases, depending on where you're coming from, it can be quite a large jump. It can be quite a large infrastructure move. The one thing I want to point out here is that in this continuous improvement program, the smaller increments will have smaller impact, which means you don't need to make those big jumps. And there are ways of doing that. We're doing it at the moment for a few clients. You then maintain your certification levels. So if you're on Windows 2008 or 2012 still, moving to 2019 or whatever the next release is going to be is not going to be a big heartache for you. Obtaining the new technology enhancements is going to be really easy for you by taking these smaller increments, and it avoids unnecessary baselines for small bug fixes as well. So I've been in the scenario where I needed to take one ESU, but in order to take that one ESU to fix a problem, I've had to take 5 baselines. By maintaining continuous improvement program, you won't have that issue, and you'll ensure your security compliance as well. And I'll show you how that happens. With tech updates, as I said, the smaller the jump, the easier the adoption. More and more web-only packages are being released between tools releases because a lot of these features, as Shannon has shown there, is orchestration-based, AIS-based. We are moving to a more web server-oriented installation. So a lot of these packs are going to be low touch, or we may not even know that a fix has been applied. A net change on the update center will show you the differences between releases, and as you'll see there in that screenshot there, I've highlighted a difference between 9251 and 9250. You can actually go in and understand exactly what is packaged within that, so that you can see if it's going to have an impact on you at all. The one thing I do want to say is that middleware and Java patching is necessary for security, especially in today's digital world with cyber security concerns all through the world. Another point here as well, and you'll see based on the bottom right-hand corner slide there, it shows you the 924 and the 925 tools release updates. But one thing that I don't think a lot of people know is that if you do take a tools release, we generally lift the plenary issue. They do need to go hand in hand. It's not a big issue. It generally happens without many people knowing it all. And there is a tools prologue, which will give you the details on all of the changes as well. So look, by taking the smaller steps, you will understand exactly what you're taking on, and you will understand exactly where you are going and take on those new certifications. Another part to the tech update is the cybersecurity aspect. So CVEs do get released. Now, generally Oracle will release critical patch updates every quarter. So as you can see here, I've said April, July, October, January was the 2021. And when CVEs do get released, you'll be notified as to whether or not that impacts your tools, the database, Java, WebLogic. And then you can link that CVE to a document within Oracle, and it'll tell you exactly what's going on. There is the concept of zero downtime patching for WebLogic server, and it is getting better in some instances, but it really comes down to how you've got your architecture set up. Talk to us about that. We can get you to that point. Okay, so that's tech and security update. Now, ASU updates. Now, I can feel the shudders in people taking an ASU. This is big. It's not. It's better than taking ESUs. I'm going to say that up front. If you just take an ASU in one hit, you'll obtain all the latest application releases and enhancements, and they are generally pretty good. They are announced on learnjde.com when they are released, and as Andrew said, generally around the November-December mark, and there is one a year, and that will get you up to date on the application side. The great thing about this is you avoid baseline ESU anxiety. So if you take a baseline, what else is it going to hit? Well, I don't know. If you take that ASU, you know exactly what it's going to hit. Taking into account ERP analytics that Fusion5 has, and I know a lot of our clients have got that as well. What we can do is we can say, okay, we now know what the ASU is bringing into your system, and we also know what you are using. And when we match that up, we can actually identify what is going to be the impact to you and what the testing scope is going to be. So from that, we can gauge the business testing scope, and we can walk you through that and make that as low impact as possible. So my advice in this is we will not be applying ESUs. Don't apply ESUs, wait for your ASUs to come out, but you still can apply the ESUs if there is a business or a bug that is impacting your business. One of the things is, okay, if I've taken ASU 2, sorry, update 2, and now I'm update 5 and I haven't taken anything in between. As Andrew showed previously, you can compare those releases. So if you go to the URL that is presented here, sorry, I'm not in with the QR codes, call me old fashioned. But what you can do is you can actually get an understanding as to what the changes are at the tools and the application levels between those releases. Word of advice, don't be afraid to apply this to Pristine. The good thing about that is it'll tell you exactly what is going to hit your system, where the impact is going to be, and it's not going to impact your business at all. The object impact analysis will provide a good insight as to what is changing in your system. So if you have, let's say, for example, 10,000 objects that the ASU hits, we'll very easily be able to understand what the difference is between those 10,000 and your usage of that. And in some cases, we can narrow that down to just a few hundred objects based on what you use using analytics. Also, we can delve into and understand what has changed in those objects, and that can be very helpful as well. Leveraging automation testing to do the heavy lifting on that early part of implementing that ASU comes in really handy. And I know there's one client in particular that we work with very closely where that is helping dramatically. And also off the back of that, it allows us to look at technical debt removal where possible. And I'll show you a link as well where Shannon has written a very good white paper on why vanilla is best, and it outlines the cost benefit of remaining vanilla. So when I'm saying tech debt removal, let's hit the easy ones first, the low-hanging fruit, you could say, where you've got form personalizations, form extensions, right? Orchestrations for repetitive tasks, or things where you've got a customization in there that does something. So continuous improvement program. Now, this is where we get into the part of the maturity model review. Now, before I delve into this one, I just want to sort of take a bit of a look back as to where we've come from over those last two. So we've spoken about tech and security updates. We've now talked about ASU updates. So we've now lifted our base tools foundation as well as our applications. Now what we do is Fusion5 work with you and your business and partner, and we look at what you are using and how you are using it using analytics. We look at all the new applications and the enhancements that have come out, and we look to see where you can get the advantage from there. We look to see where you can retire customizations or modifications, get rid of that technical debt, and propose how your maturity can be increased using the investment that you've already got. As you can see there, I've put the URL there. I recommend you to go and have a read of the Vanilla is Best white paper that Shannon has written. It is an absolute amazing one, and I think it'll open up your eyes to the cost of maintaining that technical debt moving forward. With the maturity model, here's an understanding. So this graph here that I've put here is out of our ERP analytics site. So if you don't have ERP analytics, hey, give your account manager a call. Let's get it in. It is really going to come in handy for you. What this shows here is along all of those modules there, it shows what apps you are currently using and what apps are currently in your system. And it shows you what you're using against what's available. So then what we're able to do is identify what is in the system, determine if we can help you enhance your operations and provide business improvement to get that competitive edge. We'll also look at it from a technical debt removal perspective with the latest release, and then realize any potential to move into the next phase, which is strategic planning. Okay, so we've lifted the tools and the applications to the latest release. We've now looked at what comes in that release. And what we're now going to do is we're going to say, right, how are we going to improve our business? This takes us into our strategic planning phase. So after the maturity model, we work with you. And we say, what are your key objectives and what are you wanting to achieve over the next 12, 24, 36 months? We implement a plan of execution to leverage that. And then we determine the business case and understand the benefits, so as you can put forward that to the business and get, approval for funding and project setup. And then we outline the value add areas that are exposed, and we measure them to make them contingent to where you want to go. So in the strategic planning phase, we provide insight into what areas that is crucial to your business. We leverage what we just did with the maturity model to understand the scope and generate that business and that benefits analysis. And the main things we look at, and I think everyone looks at this with your investments into ERP, will the change make us money? Will it save us money? Will it drive a competitive edge? And will it add value to my business where it currently is? And the things that you can look at that are really easy, and that Shannon also touched on points there, is look at where there is lag in your process, or slow business process, or manual business processes. So if you're using CSV files for interfaces, Z tables, or if you're still double handling paperwork, that's a no-brainer. Talk to us about that. We can help you with that. That's money for jam. All right, cool. Now that we've got the strategic plan in place, we now set foot into the realm of setting up the project and getting that realization for you in the business. So the plan is now in place. We get business stakeholder support, we set up the project, and we execute it and realize the benefit. Then what we do is we plan for the next item on that list that we brought out of the strategic planning, and we continue that cadence. During the business improvement process, as I said, we're implementing the strategic approach. We engage with the business subject matter experts. At the end of the day, they are the people that know what is going on between the business and the ERP system. We get them on board as well. We draw up the scope, we get the budget, we employ the project guidance and disciplines, we set a date, we hit the date, we execute and get those benefits for the business, and we move on. We blow the competition out of the water. So look, that's a very business-oriented approach, but I just want to highlight that with the continuous improvement program, that is how there is benefit to you in the business world. Now, I want to touch on something, because there's been many times a work order has passed over my desk for approval where someone has taken the approach of modifying code to realize a business impact. Sorry, to realize business potential, without actually asking the question, what can I do with the tool set that I've got that allows me to not implement more technical debt into my system? So the questions I want you to ask yourself is the functionality not available to me at the moment? Can I do it on the glass if possible? If you do need to create a customization or a modification, that's fine. There's more than likely going to be a need at some point in time where you will need to do that. However, Oracle and Paul, heading up the JDE team out of Denver, they are partnering with us to essentially say, if you've got that need where you need to go in and cut code, let Oracle know what that is, and they will put it onto their enhancement listing. And what you'll see there is a screenshot there where not only us, but Oracle have got these requests from all over the world of JDE customers where they've had to go in and modify code. And what they do is they open up a enhancement request and they try and build that into their base product set. So you can log the SR with Oracle as an enhancement request, outline the solution. Oracle will put it on their enhancement list. When it's released, you can apply that in the future and then retire that modification. And that's where they're going. They want to partner with you as the client as well. Okay, what are the pros and cons of staying up to date? Well, look, I'm going to go with the pros first. Certifications are easier to achieve, very easy to achieve. One of our clients wanted to go from 12C database to 19. Very easy to do. It was already supported in the tool set. Support is always maintained. Features are applied a lot faster with lower impact. There's no large CapEx for work orders. You can build it into your OpEx by taking up the continuous improvement plan. Security vulnerabilities are always maintained and removed. So if you constantly have pen tests on your system, by maintaining a continuous improvement program, you're going to reduce that risk right down. Long-term supportability, leveraging your existing investment. Some of the cons are there is testing required when changes are made. There's no getting around that. Change is the biggest factor and fear for a lot of people. And look, I will say some bugs can be introduced into it. It is getting a lot better, but where there are bugs, we work very closely with Oracle. We'll get that fixed very quickly. Third-party apps do need to keep up to date. One of the biggest things we've found is moving from 32-bit to 64-bit. A lot of third-party apps did have to go through a certification program to get that. And look, some third-party providers didn't make the move, and they are now catching up. And also just watch your integrations and endpoints. Now, we can mitigate a lot of those cons in that list by bringing in automated testing and building robust integrations in using central endpoints. I want to give you a bit of a strategic example. Now, I have had to not use our client's name for this one, but I want to give you an example where we've taken this process and we've come up with a project that has got them real tangible benefits. Now, the old process is there's a logistics company that our client uses, and let's call our client Wapple Watches because, hey, who doesn't love a Wapple watch? They'd send an invoice to Wapple Watches for payment. Wapple Watches would manually create vouchers and run a payment run each Wednesday to pay the supplier. So remember, the invoice is coming in via email to someone. Could be a central inbox. Some invoices were getting missed and not realized until after Wednesday, which meant an emergency pay run had to be done to make sure that that payment actually got out before the week's end. Now, 2 to 3 people were involved in this process every week. There was a logistics officer, an accounts officer, and sometimes an IT support officer to intervene in those emergency pay runs. It was quantified that over a 52-week period, this cost Wapple Watches $70,000 or so in manual administration extra on top of their everyday job every year. When they ended up working with us, there was a strategic planning review done and the business decided to implement a new process to get rid of that. The logistics organization lodges the electronic invoice. When they do, an orchestration is called and adjacent payload is passed. JD Edwards sends an acknowledgement that they've received that electronic invoice from the logistics organization. On a scheduler, a voucher is auto-magically created in JDE and awaits the payment cycle. The scheduled payment cycle calls an orchestration that then creates another JSON payload of those vouchers that it's created and then sends that back to the logistics company. The orchestration invokes an API gateway and submits the JSON back to the logistics organization. Notifications are sent to people within Wapple Watches to say that that has now been sent and what has been paid. The only people that now get involved are by exception-based monitoring if there is some issue there. Now, the project was 65K. Now, when you think of it, every year they were incurring roughly 70K for that manual process. What they've now been able to do is leverage that extra time those 2 to 3 people have to work on something else, to look at the next digital transformation. And I think that is a really good example. It's a low cost, great benefit, low hanging fruit thing. Now that has engaged us with that client to look at better strategic planning using better functionality in JD Edwards. So let me ask you this question. What is your digital transformation project that you'd like to talk about? All right, I think, Andrew, that is it for me. I'm going to have to pass back to you for your next slide, but thank you everyone for your time.
Cool, thanks, Ben. All right, let me. So hopefully people can see my screen now.
Yep, all good. Thanks,
Yep,
Andrew.
cool, okay. All right, so the third piece of our presentation at today's town hall is new functionality that's been released by 2 partners that most people know that we work closely with, being Reports Now and Q Software. So one is reporting and the other one's application security and also license auditing for both for JD Edwards. So really the goal out of this in short term RN4QS is giving you the opportunity to be that one step in front of your auditors. All right. So when you're talking about security, and just to start off, I just want to talk about the life cycle. So when you go through this, you're always continuously monitoring about what's happening with the application. You're putting in some form of access-based control based setup of roles. So you're an accountant, you're an AP administrator, you're a warehouse officer, whatever. So putting that in, and then you want to add some segregation of duties based off those roles. So you can put some more controls in on tasks and what's happening and what people can do. Then, you've got all this security set up and you've got the segregation of duties, and so you need to bring some users into the system, and you're continually provisioning users as people come on and off the system throughout the years. And then most people of some form, some people have it a lot more, whether they, some people have, government control, some people run internal and external audits, but you have some form of compliance and auditing that you need to go through each year. And some people, and I know I used to do it previously in my roles when I was a JD Edwards customer, you could lose up to 2 months a year just by dealing with auditors and what you had to deliver, because a lot of times they're after that information untouched by human hands. So there's that side. And then it's just, the ideal world is you're doing a periodic review. And this is getting the information to the business users and getting them to approve of who has access and what access they have to. So what we're talking about here with Reports Now for Q Software is really in this red circle, so the compliance and auditing reporting. So a little bit about it, it's about providing, because all the information's in your system, and sometimes it's hard to extract it out, but it's about providing not just meaningful security information, but stuff that you can action against. So then you're reducing your risk and just, making it easy and satisfying your auditing requirements. So what they've done is the combination, and they've harnessed, all the facilities that are made available through Reports Now solutions. So when you're talking about Data Access Studio, Mobi, dashboarding, and their automator, and then what you've got with Q Software, which is the actual security information. So the enhancement of security and what's available to you instead of just the base JD Edwards. So then together, you can provide the evidence when requested by auditors, and you have the ability to efficiently and also action things from that side. So just, why would you look at this, and why is this beneficial to JD Edwards customers around the world? So, looking through what you've got, and I go back to life cycle, you have visibility of what users have access. You can set up segregation of duties, but also do the analysis of it. You can then start looking at what you need to do with remediation of violations. So, you set up your rules, and there's obviously some violations there. And at the same time, you may not need, your organization may not be set up to remove the violations, but you can put some mitigation. So I've got some external controls. So to be able to document those and give them as a report to the auditors of what's going on. It's always about, risk reduction. And then, an example here, you can throw a dashboard out and you can show people exactly what they're going on. This can be built inside of an E1 page. So people that are relevant, they can log in and see what's going on from a day-to-day perspective. You can put some alerting on your system. So whether you're tracking on from a data control perspective, so fraud, what's happening with your master data, so you can have that exception reporting, but you can also through alerts and also the Mobi application get some actual monitoring of what's going on. This gives you the ability to streamline the user process, and at the same time, the big one for me, from my past experience and what I talk to a lot of customers, is just reducing the time-consuming audits, and particularly when you have to repeat the information year in, year out, just to have a set of reports that you can just run and pass that information on is so valuable. So what is included in this? So what you've got is a set of predefined reports and dashboards. That these reports, for those that have used Reports Now, so the Data Access Studio solution Reports Now, it gives you that drill down capability. So yes, I can see the information on the screen. So I've got a nice dashboard here. and I can see what's going on, but I can click down and actually go into and see the actual information linked to it. In terms of licensing, so there's 2 license packs. So if you already have licensing from a Reports Now perspective, and you're looking at, you've already got a designer, a Mobi and Automator, you can just buy the content, or you can buy the license pack, and that's what you get. So you get a designer license, so it gives you the ability to build your own reports and dashboards. You've got the ability for Mobi, so you can publish them out, and then Automator. So Automator is really about scheduling. So I've gone and I've got, let's say I've got 10 departments inside my organization, and each of those I want to get reports to them. I want them to do that periodic review. I also want to get additional information from an auditing perspective, so they can see what's going on from a data perspective. The Automator allows you to schedule and publish those out to those people, so they don't have to actually log into the application to get the information. But in terms of the actual predefined, so what you get is there's 28 reports, 6 pro reports, and 3 dashboards. So there's a lot of content that Q Software and Reports Now work together to, at the end of the day, just allow you to get information more efficiently and effectively. Okay, so what you've got is just 2 examples. So, what you can see is a dashboard and what reports look, and, just showing you that drill down capability, so that, yes, I've got an issue here with a particular segregation of duties rule, and I can click on this hyperlink and I can actually go in and see some more information. So just at a high level, what you will get with the recording of this session today is there will be a recording of an actual demonstration of the solution set. So have a look at that. But this is something that I talk year in, year out with customers all around Asia Pacific, and I know that both Q Software and Now Reports Now talk to customers all around the world from this, and it's something that is quickly for you to put in place. And we're talking, you can have this up and going, in a couple of hours, but it's something that can save you weeks of work. Okay, so what I'll do now is pretty much we're at our question and answer time. So I will try and open the floor. I'll get Ben and Shannon to join me back online, and just see if there's any questions from anyone. So people can, if you have a question, you should be able to unmute yourself and just hit us with what you've got.
I could see some typing going on. Okay, there's one there. I have Fusion5's ERP analytics already. How do I get a maturity model done for my business? Might throw that one to you, Shannon.
Yeah, just send me an email or get in contact with your account manager. It's a matter of us for just opening that up and sharing it with you.
All right.
Or your SDM.
All right, beautiful.
Cool. No other questions from anyone? No, so listen, if you do have questions, sorry?
I was just going to say, it's pretty arduous asking a question in front of everyone.
Yeah. So listen, if you do have questions, please reach out to the team. But, just in closeout, we have got some upcoming events. Just for those that don't know, next month, Quest still run their events. Normally they're the big conference events that people have the opportunity. A bit hard for the ANZ crowd because it is a lot of cost to go across to those. But I know Ben's speaking at what they're calling In Focus and Vision, which is the 12th to 15th of April. So if you do have a Quest membership, or if you don't, jump on the Quest website and have a look at that. There is a lot of content and a lot of amazing information will get spoken to there.
Andrew, there's another question come through. Does ERP Analytics have the maturity model now?
So ERP Analytics has all the information to build a maturity model. So, and what we do is we augment the application usage with the customer's object librarian. When we use the customer's object librarian, and that might be a little bit of effort to get that up into the cloud to report against, what we're actually able to show our customers is their custom objects and how their maturity model usage is using their custom objects, as well as all of the standard system codes. So out of the box, it will only do all of the standard system codes in terms of the maturity model. Note also that this does batch, and we can do batch and interactive. So if you are subscribed to our batch insights package, then you can have that 360-degree view of all of your modules in JD Edwards, and that allows our functional consultants to come in and say, hey, you're not using these programs. They were released, 6 months ago, 8 months ago. They're awesome, and they're going to help you do A, B, C in your organization. So these maturity model reports are constantly updated, and we can also have that update with the latest object librarian information from your sites on a daily basis if required.
Yeah, and I suppose the other point I want to make there as well is that ERP analytics is not the maturity model. The ERP analytics is a tool that is used in the maturity model process. So there is engagement with a functional resource in order to understand your business, use that tool, and then do the maturity model as well. So it's one part of the maturity model.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I guess it reiterates our focus on database decision making. So we like to have that the data that supports any recommendations that we make out of those exercises.
Okay, cool. So if any other jump through, we'll keep an eye out. From our perspective, we've got our symposium. So Wednesday, the 19th of May. Registration information and more details on that will be coming out soon via email and off Fusion5's website. We were hoping, obviously, a lot of people were hoping that we could potentially get an in-person event, but this stage we're looking at running a similar format as we did last year, which we thought worked quite well, with some focus on listening and getting some customer stories and a couple of updates from certain people. So stay tuned for that's going on from that aspect. Outside of that, we also on top will run more town halls. So we're Q3 town hall will be Wednesday the 19th of August. So similar structure as this. But the big thing, just to close out, is that I just want to thank everyone for attending. I hope everyone is well and back on deck and going well for 2021. There will be, the recording will come out off the back of this. There'll be additional information with it. Look at our website. There'll be emails coming out about symposium. I just want to thank Ben and Shannon for joining me today. And really the way for everyone to continue to stay connected or get connected with what's happening. I know Ben and I spoke about it with Learn JDE. We've got an amazing team of account managers across ANZ, our company websites, but LinkedIn. Get out there and follow people. There's certain people in the market like Ward Calls is probably a big one from a JDE perspective. Paul Howe Cooper. The head now of JDE behind Lyle. There's YouTube channels, Twitter, so there's so much options from a social media aspect from what's and listening to what's the latest and greatest, and particularly the push of now trying to get a lot more customer stories. So not people listening to the sales side, but people listening to real customers and their real experience of what they've done, whether it's enhancing their solution, an upgrade journey, or even just what they're doing from a digital transformation perspective. So at the end of the day, yeah, thank you for everyone. If you do have questions, I think most people have my email address. So if you're not sure who to talk to, just ping me. And I look forward to speaking to, hearing from people and seeing everyone at the symposium. If not beforehand, where we get around to see people, but then in May. So thank you everyone, and please, hopefully you got something from today's session.
Yeah, thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you to everyone that joined. I'd love to hear from people to start to take the journey on the digital transformation, and maybe I can use someone's business name rather than Wapple Watches this time. So look, feel free to reach out. I'd love to have a chat as well.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.